Hello and welcome to Adrian Beyond the Classroom. Today the video is about what happened after you had finished your school. And school is a massive element of our lives. It's our formative years growing up as adults. And we are always finding it very, very difficult to understand what we're going to be doing beyond there. So I want to find today the actual purpose of today is to find out what happened with you, what happened at the end of your school years, and what happened next. Now, if I share my experience, I found that from about 1973 to 1974 were, I called them my golden age. And the reason they were the golden age is things were starting to go pretty well for me. I was beginning to develop in the sporting area. I was playing football and playing with my school team and really getting on with that, enjoying it wonderfully. I also was involved in playing tennis. Remember, I'm at this sort of particular time, I'm in Yorkshire at this point, and in tennis, I actually started to really aspire to that and got to a county level and also won a major tournament in York, of all places, where I became the under-18s York and District champion. Now, after that, my tennis progressed and progressed and progressed into my later years, and I've been playing it all my life. I actually kicked off in tennis when I was 11 years old. So everything was going well there. But the other thing was that I had been spotted by one of my drama teachers called Barry Mathias, who actually thought I was pretty good at sort of drama. He thought that I had the right looks and the right sort of personality to get into doing productions. And the very first production I did was Oliver Twist, the musical, and I played the Artful Dodger. And that was quite difficult when you think it was meant to take place in London. And I was beginning to develop a Yorkshire accent. But I played that role, and that went really, really well. And then he came across to me and said, "Right, well, look, you know, that was a great performance. I've been looking to do Romeo and Juliet for a long, long time." And he cast me as Romeo. So I ended up playing Romeo. And that really, really, really went well. Um, and everything was going well on this, and this was the major element of it. And I was doing okay in my studies. I'd already finished my equivalent to GCSEs at that point, and my O levels, I got those, and was in the process of going through A levels, starting my A level course, and starting to build in lots of ways. Then, sadly, on March the 1st, 1974, my father had a tragic accident. He was coming back from air traffic control at RAF Linton on News, and he came back late because often they were doing shifts and late nights, and he came in and unfortunately he fell down the stairs, and that was it. He died. That was on March the 1st. He actually died. He went to Pinderfields Hospital, and they did the best they could, but they had to turn the machine off. So that was my world coming right the way down on me. And of course, my father was a military man, and he had an incredible history. He was far too young to die. He was only 51. And then he basically, his funeral was took place on the RAF base, and the whole of the RAF base was manned by RAF, the RAF teams all over the place, and it was a military funeral because he was, as I mentioned before, he was in the famous squadron called 617 Squadron, which is the Dam Buster Squadron, and flew in sorties and missions, did over 36, survived them all, was a vet. And the irony is he lost his life in this way. So you can imagine that had a big impact on me, and possibly had an impact on me ever since, and has made me probably more independent, but also not having the guidance from there on. Anyway, that made a big impact. So it went from golden to a little bit bleak. And of course, never forget the date because it's St. David's Day and it's March the 1st. So that's my story at that point. But then what happened was I did the performance in which my father never saw of Romeo and Juliet, and I was spotted, and I was offered an opportunity to audition for the National Youth Theatre in London, which is a massive opportunity. So I was beginning to get torn now between my sporting prowess and suddenly my acting prowess, which was taking me further on. And I had to go for an audition in Manchester in Cheetham up there for the first round because hundreds of thousands of youngsters try to get into the National Youth Theatre. So I did that. And then I went for my sort of a trial and that in Manchester. And then in about I think it must have been about May, I suddenly got a letter through saying they had accepted me to the National Youth Theatre season, starting in London when, you know, it was like 1974, and I ended up going to London on my own and living in a bedsit, and obviously you get offered shared accommodation with people, which is great. And obviously that experience was incredible. Suddenly I was, you know, beginning to do things that a lot of people never had the opportunity to have, and yet I was having all of this based on the fact that now I can't go to my dad and sort of talk to him anymore. So it had a big impact on me. And of course, after that, when I went back to school after a season in National Youth Theatre, because that takes place in summer, so you don't miss school, you actually do it over the summer period. I went back to school, and of course, I was offered more production things. I did a school musical called It's a Small War, which was produced and directed particularly for schools, and played a rebel in that, which I absolutely loved because I was the hero in Romeo and Juliet. This time I played the rebel, so I was doing that. And then from there I was thinking, well, what am I going to do? Because I took my A levels, I passed them, and I still didn't know what to do. So my teacher in Yorkshire, a nice guy, it was called Brian Trundle. He actually said to me, look, I didn't know. I said, look, sir, what can I do? He said, look, you're not a dimwit, and you're particularly, you know, you've got a very good sporting element to you. He said, there's a new degree being developed at a PE college called Nonnington PE College in Kent, and validated by Kent University. And he said, look, that you have to be a county player in tennis, and of course at that point I was, and you had to obviously have the ability to enjoy sport. Well, I was involved in sport all over, and he said, look, you can become a PE teacher. So that's what I did. Now I did that for a year, and it was at that point after that I didn't stick at it. I hadn't been able to grieve my dad, and I kind of left sort of doing what I should have kept on doing, and pulled away. And it was at this degree, but I didn't forget it. I just went and did lots of other things after that. I started to get an agency, started pursuing that side of the career, and I did a few BBC TV things. I was in The Peppermint Pig, which is the Nina Borden novel, and I played the young Roland, who was again a bit of a villain. I'm getting typecast now. And then I played in a funny comedy, and it was based in Norfolk, where we did the screening in It Ain't Our Fault Mum, which was hilarious, and I wore khaki sort of coveralls and things. And in fact, there was a photograph of me in that, and I looked identical to my dad. And then I did other things. I worked in sales. I sold insurance. I remember selling insurance to jockeys, accident insurance, climbing up ladders to one particular person, sold an insurance policy. And so you can see my whole situation was, you know, all over the place. So suddenly focusing on one thing, I was focusing on too many things. And then after that, I actually decided to go back to uni and teacher training college, and I carried on, and I ended up qualifying in as a teacher later on. So that's my story, but it shows you what happened next. And of course, the way I behave and the way I've looked at life and what I've done is obviously to do with my lifestyle pre my father being alive, and um, then after he had died, that also must have had a big impact on me. What I want to know now is your stories, and we all have our stories, and it develops and becomes more realistic and more adult and more um, sort of challenging when you actually start to have to think about what you are going to do as an adult. Did you go to further education? Did you do an apprenticeship? What did you do? When was this, and how did you get on, and what progressed from there? Now we're talking about my age area, which is when all this was kicking off, is really between 74 and 76. And all I remember of later, when I was at Nottington College and I was still there, it was the summer of 76. So it was amazing. It was like, it was like the Kent coast was like the French sort of, it was unbelievable. It was like south of France. It was wonderful. And it was a very strange moment in time, but it showed that after I'd gone through these moments, I had started to pick myself up. So please get in touch and tell me your stories and share them, because it's these formative, we went through the formative years and we went through what our parents do. We knew there were pivotal moments in the eras. And this time I wanted to more focus on what you actually uh, ended up doing maybe later on. We'll get to that as we go through the decades. Anyway, that's it for now. But I'm really wanting and really please encouraging you to really get involved in this, and please actually give your comments, because we can share our journeys, and we're still on our journey, and I'm one of these people that feels my journey is still going forward, and it's not the end. It's not that we did this and that's the end of it. We've still got to go forward, and we've got to be able to do that in a sense that makes us feel comfortable. Anyway, thank you very much.